Today's webinar is the Socially Disadvantaged and Veteran Farmers and Ranchers Program, also known as the 2501 program. Today's webinar is hosted by the Alaska region under the Administration for Native Americans. ANA promotes self-sufficiency for Native Americans by providing discretionary grant funding for community-based projects and training and technical assistance to eligible tribes and Native organizations. ANA's overarching vision is that Native communities are thriving. The Alaska region serves as one of 4 training and technical assistance centers. There's the Alaska region, the Eastern region and Western region, and Pacific region is Hawaii, Guam, American Samoa, and Northern Marianas Islands. Sister Sky is a new technical assistance provider that focuses only on the cohort of language learners, and that is a great resource for organizations that are looking at language projects. A little bit about what each TTA center does. We all offer the same services. All of our services and resources are 100% free. We offer trainings in the form of project planning and development, pre-application, and for organizations who receive federal funding, we do post-award trainings. We provide technical assistance for organizations who go to our websites, upload your proposals, and agree to work with us as we go through and help to increase your likelihood by pointing out areas that you could improve your application. We offer webinars similar to this one and topics that are covered or focused under any of the ANA program areas, so SEDS, SEDS-AK, environmental regulatory enhancement, or either of the 2 language FOAs. And we also provide tools and guides as to how to design and implement projects. For today's webinar goals, we want you to understand what the 2501 program is, and we want you to have a better understanding of who you can contact to get more details about the 2501 program. Kenya Nicholas is presenting today. She is with the USDA and the program director for the outreach and assistance for the socially disadvantaged and veteran farmers and ranchers grant program. Kenya didn't know that I pulled this picture, but this is from a newsletter that they recently just sent out. I will turn it over and let Kenya introduce herself and the other staff that she has with her to help present today.
Okay, great. Well, thank you all for taking the time to join us today and hear what we have to say about the 2501 program. This program is considered to be our flagship outreach program for USDA. We work across all agencies here at USDA trying to support all of the programs in terms of outreach. All of our grantees that are located throughout the country, they all work with various departments or various agencies, depending on what their projects are, and they're considered to be an extension of our outreach here at the Office of Partnerships and Public Engagement. So I'm going to go through our presentation. This first slide here is just our title slide. So we're going to follow this format for the overview. And we'll be getting started here right now. I'm not sure how familiar you are with the 2501 program, but we've had some recent changes. The Farm Bill merged the 2501 program with the Beginning Farmer and Rancher Development Program. Only financially we were merged, but we were merged into what what we call our photo, which is the farming outreach training and opportunity. And then with that merger became additional funding for the program. So the funding is shared equally with NIFA under what we call our photo. The program will continue to operate separately. NIFA will keep BFRDP, and then the 2501 program will stay with the Office of Partnerships and Public Engagement. The reason behind that merger was to provide for mandatory funding for both of these programs so that we're not going out every year trying to advocate for additional funds. So as we speak, our funding is available, and we will be going out soliciting applications from eligible entities. For 2020, this fiscal year we're in now, we will be sharing $30 million each for each program, which will be $15 million for 2501. And additionally, we have $1.25 million from additional funding awarded through Congress in our appropriations. So we will have a gross amount of about $17 million to fund this fiscal year, and the net amount will be close to maybe $15 million. So that's a great bump for us in terms of increased funding. So now you know about the program. Let me do a quick introduction of who's running the program. Kenya Nicholas, that's me. I'm the program director for the program. And then I've been with the program here, 2501 program, since 2012. And I've been serving many roles since I've been here. I'm also the designated federal officer for the Minority Farmers Advisory Committee. I've served at the Farm Service Agency. I've also served with rural development. I've worked with loans and grants for probably the last 20 years. I am a Florida native, so I am struggling here in D.C. with the cold, but it's not too bad this year, so things aren't too bad for me. Also on our staff, we have Sherry Lesh, who is unable to join us today. So we have Brenda Wise that's going to be doing some of our slides today. And Brenda, did you want to do your own bio real quick, or do you want me to? Okay.
Hello, everyone. This is Brenda Wise, and I am currently serving as a grant management specialist here at USDA, the Office of Partnerships and Public Engagement. That is a mouthful. We are part of the Outreach and Assistance to Socially Disadvantaged and Veteran Farmers Relations Program. Program funding is awarded to organizations that can provide agricultural, educational, and training to socially disadvantaged and underserved groups, providing them with information on available USDA resources. I've been serving here in the 2501 program since 2010, and I've assisted in the funding of nearly $120 million in underserved populations. Prior to working at USDA, I've enjoyed a lengthy career in the financial services industry, and I've worked for such companies as Ameriprise Financial, Mortgage Guaranty Insurance Corporation, or MGIC, the First National Bank of Arizona, and Ivanhoe Financial. I have a bachelor's degree in business administration, and I minor in contract management from Square University here in Virginia. And I've also attended the Jack Welch Management Academy here in
Thank you, Brenda. And the last of our staff members here at the 2501 program, I know we have a large glass of water to drink every day, but we only have small bits and pieces here that's working to swallow that whole glass of water. So the last is Sherry Lesh. It would only be right for us to have veteran personnel on the staff. She is our veteran, She has over 20, almost 20 years, retired from the Navy as a senior chief petty officer. She worked as a bookkeeper. She also has a lot of administrative experience. She holds a master's degree from the University of Oklahoma and a bachelor's degree in social science, from Jacksonville University. So hopefully you all have a little bit of information about us and feel like you know us. I'm going to go to the next slide, which is the program basics. The purpose of this program is to encourage and assist socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers in owning successful farms and ranches. Part of that is providing the services that they need, providing the outreach and training that they need to have those successful and profitable operations. And with that goal in mind, we want to make sure that they're aware of these USDA programs and services that are working, that we're working across the agencies to provide to them. So sometimes there are instances where, we have a plethora of programs, but if they're not getting to our beneficiaries, then there's going to be a disconnect there. So this program is pretty much in place to be that connector, connecting the programs, providing the outreach, and we provide the funds to nonprofits and higher education institutions so that they can in turn provide those outreach services in their communities. The 2501 program hosts an annual partnership symposium every year. I know annual is every year, but we kind of swing around the country. This year we are planning it for the Midwest. It hasn't been announced yet, but we provide that symposium to seek input from our stakeholders, provide opportunities for them to network. We invite all the USDA agencies so that they can update everyone on new programs or changes in the programs, and just have a big open forum for interactions between USDA and our farmers and ranchers, our state USDA officials, nonprofits, even for-profits. And so all of the directors that receive grant funding from us, we provide them with funding to attend so that they can make sure that they are in the room, because this is a very important event that we want to make sure our public knows about us. The symposium is free. It's free to the public. We invite, again, our current and past recipients, because sometimes the recipients of our grants may be from previous years, and they may not have received it the year that we have the symposium. So we include them as well because they've actually gone through the grant process. They've closed it. So they have a lot of lessons learned that they can share with our new grantees. So we invite them as well as our faith-based organizations, various agricultural organizations, especially our land grant, our 1862 universities, 1890 tribal colleges and universities, Hispanic serving and institutions. And then we also have the staff of the Office of Partnerships and Public Engagement, which is our overall umbrella for operating. Benefits from attending the symposium, I kind of touched on it earlier, the networking opportunities, the lessons learned, best practices. You have new grantees that may be trying to feel their way and navigate through and see what's really going on, but having this overall one room or one building where everyone is networking together, we've gotten a lot of feedback from other grantees or new grantees that are saying they will not miss another one. So I invite you all to stay tuned. We will be highly publicizing the next one we're planning for this early this fall, and we welcome you all to attend. Throughout the presentation, I may be saying awardees or grantees or recipients. When I say that, I mean people who have been awarded a grant or eligible for a grant. So in this case, recipients must be a collaborative, state, tribal, local, or regionally based network or partnership of public or private organizations. So in a nutshell, this is not a program for individuals. We have a lot of people that come to the program and want to apply. Unfortunately, we refer them to our new farmers. A lot of them are new farmers, and they want to learn about how to get started. So I refer them to the USDA.gov/new farmer site because there's a lot of information there that they can receive in terms of other programs they may can qualify. But as a whole, the 2501 program is for community-based and nonprofit organizations with 3 years experience in providing training and outreach to socially disadvantaged and veteran farmers and ranchers. Higher education institutions are also eligible to participate. Again, those 1890, 1862, all of the land grant Hispanic serving institutions are also also eligible. And socially disadvantaged, the definition varies across the department. For those of you that are familiar with USDA's programs and services, socially disadvantaged may not be the same thing in Farm Service Agency. For the intents and purposes of this program, the 2501 program, it does not include women, but the groups that they do serve are African Americans, American Indians or Alaska Natives, Asians or Pacific Islanders, or Hispanics. Refugees, farm workers, or seasonal migrant farm workers are considered in those categories of eligibility. Veteran farmers and ranchers, since this program in 2014 Farm Bill, veterans was added as an eligible beneficiary. So when we say veteran, we mean any farmer or rancher who served in the military, any service that was discharged or released under honorable conditions, which in being other than dishonorable. And excuse me, the veteran farmers and ranchers, remember they are not eligible to apply, but if you are a nonprofit that are assisting veterans, then that is you are eligible to apply. And those veterans, that the definition that I just used is what we use in terms of your outreach to that group. The funding to assist our military veterans is basically going to provide evidence of your ability to serve their needs. If you are new to the military arena, that's not the 3-year requirement that we have as eligible to participate in the program. If you are new and you want to help, you may want to partner with another organization. I also encourage you to work with Bill Ashton. He is our military veteran agricultural liaison. That is a new position that we have actual funds for under this Farm Bill, the last Farm Bill. So he is our first full-time military agricultural liaison, and he is awesome. I challenge you to call him with any veteran-related questions, whether it's employment, farming, anything veteran-related, not just limited to agriculture. He has a staff that they are very, very responsive to our veterans. Programmatic changes. As I mentioned earlier, the Farm Bill did combine the 2501 program with the Beginning Farmers and Ranchers Development Program at NIFTA. So you see here these next 4 to 5 bullets. It tells you how our funding will increase every year. So next year, starting next year, we'll have the $35 million that we've had for 19 and 20, the $30 million. So every year we will max out until 2023 at $50 million. So that's great news for the 2501 program. It's great news for our stakeholders that have advocated to their congressmen that we need money in this program. It's a very important program that's made a heck of a difference in our farming communities among socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers. So being able to do more funding means more assistance. So if you're on the line, you're a stakeholder responsible for that, thank you. Again, this year we'll have that $15 million plus that additional $2.5 million. So we will be going out with a funding announcement for about $15 million in net grants. The maximum grant is $250,000 per year, up to 3-year terms. So in other words, in the Farm Bill, it allows for up to a $750,000 grant over a 3-year term. Last year, we found that a lot of people were going for, of course, the maximum grant amount, which in turn would reduce the amount of grants that we were able to award. So the department made a decision, our leadership here at OPPE made a decision to reduce some of the amounts across the board by 10% so that we can maximize our funding. So we have the discussion to go up to $750,000, but if that means only 15, 20 grants nationwide, I don't think that's a great use of our funding, so that's why we kind of reduced them. So especially now, we're getting the increased funding now, so we're hoping that we can be just as innovative for this year. The other change that happened last fiscal year in the Farm Bill, we have external peer review panels that have to work to select our grants. So if you're interested in being a peer reviewer, we would love to have you. We want to make sure that you have experience working with socially disadvantaged veterans and farmers, because we depend on that peer review panel to select the next wave of outreach partners. And if there's no experience there, we are not sure how good of a project there will be. So we want to be good stewards of the program. So we want to make sure we have as many peer reviews to select from as we choose who's going to be on that panel. So if you're interested, you can send an email to 2501grants@usda.gov, and we will be soliciting, I would say, within the next couple of weeks or so. We are gearing up right now to get the solicitation out, but this is a great time for us to have this teleconference, so you can be on the lookout. You're probably one of the first to know that it's coming. The other programmatic change is that there's a priority for community-based organizations or non-governmental organizations, and that was provided for in the Farm Bill. So what we do there is we provide an additional 5 points for those types of entities. And we try to make sure that we have geographical diversity, as that is also called in the Farm Bill. And lastly, stakeholder feedback. We mostly get that feedback during the annual symposium. However, if you're not attending the annual symposium, the 2501 grants@usda.gov, that is our email to get any stakeholder feedback, and we'll add it at the end of the year and consolidate that as our stakeholder feedback. The other programmatic changes, I believe this is the end of them. If you are a current awardee, you may not reapply for another grant until it's entering your last year of funding. So just as an example, each year you're only able to apply for one award, and that's per organization. So if you apply for a 2-year grant and you're awarded a 2-year grant, you can't come in the next year for another grant. It has to be in the year of your the last year of your project period for you to reapply. So that independent peer review panel, is that you, Brenda?
Oh, I can take over.
Okay. Brenda's going to take over from here, and I'll pick back up at the end.
Good afternoon. This is Brenda again, and thanks, Kenya. As Kenya stated, now we're doing an independent peer review panel process in order to ensure that we select the best recipients and most qualified recipients for the program. Once qualified applicants have been selected, they'll be assigned submission by the peer review panel lead. And that the peer review process will be conducted both remotely, which is electronically, and in person. The remote process will take approximately 2 to 3 weeks to conclude. Reviewers will then meet here in person in DC for 1 to 2 weeks to reconcile all final reviews and scores that they've obtained through the review process of the application. Each reviewer will review approximately 2 applications, and that is dependent upon the number of applications received and the number of reviewers. The qualifications mentioned previously, we are looking for reviewers who have experience with these grants. That experience must be working with USDA programs and services. And they must have experience working as an outreach professional and working with socially disadvantaged farmers, ranchers, and veterans. In order to qualify as a peer reviewer, you must not be an applicant for the current 2501 fiscal year cycle. In other words, we don't want you to review your own proposal. And I think that makes sense. It's fair to everyone. If you do not plan to apply, as Kenya said earlier when we spoke of reviewers, and you want to be considered as a reviewer, you can send an email address to the link above in bullet 1 to the 2501 grant at USDA.gov and drop the OSCC. So again, that's 2501 grant at USDA.gov. In the subject line, please include the 2501 reviewer as the headline. And you'll also include a detailed description of your experience, highlight your expertise with respect to serving those socially disadvantaged groups. And we'll also want to know about your experience reviewing and writing grants, if you have that here. Also include a resume, so that we can get an idea of the types of outreach you perform, informing, ranching, and technical assistance experience you provided. As far as honorariums, in the past, we did not provide honorariums to reviewers. Reviewers at that point were usually USDA personnel. We now have the funds to benefit outside reviewers, and we have specified that now honorariums will be applied to anyone who is a reviewer, and currently that's $225 per day, or a fraction of that as appropriate. So you only work half a day, then you only receive a portion of that $225 for panel participation. Federal employees that are panel members are not eligible for honorarium because that would be double assistance. If you get paid as an employee, you're not going to get paid an honorarium. But we still appreciate your participation. There are some expenses that we reimburse reviewers, and they are travel-related expenses and approved out-of-pocket expenses attended or incurred while attending the panel. We are going to require invoices to validate those requested expense reimbursements. And there'll be forms with all of this information to help you complete the information should you decide to be a reviewer and art director. Additionally, there are resources that you may access. LPT's website lists funded projects for the period from fiscal year 2014 up to our most recent 2019 fiscal year. When you visit those pages, you'll find a project description, the dollar amount of the grant awarded, the name of the recipient organization, along with senators and representatives associated with those projects. Projects are listed alphabetically by state. You'll also see the geographical area served and the contact information for project directors. And there we also provide their email and phone number. So you're more than welcome to contact these organizations, speak with them, maybe even ask about partnering with them on a proposal. We pick their brains, they're open to that sort of thing. We all want us to be successful, and we want to be successful together. So that's why that information is there. FarmAnswers.org is a wonderful resource for beginning farming for the ranchers. It's hosted by NISA, and these resources provide information on how to get started farming. And it also includes tools to help us even producers succeed. Even though it's primarily for beginning farmers, there's lots of information and tools there that can be utilized by seasoned producers. We've developed some strategies for better serving our disadvantaged groups. In order to meet those, we serve on common ground and try to ensure that they are accepted to USDA programs. We've developed these strategies to meet stakeholders where they are and find out how best to communicate with them. By doing this, you see the 5 bullets there. We try to observe their cultural norms. We provide one-on-one training. We perform outreach to social media and social networks. We try to help them develop effective partnerships and partner with us on some initiatives. And we try to come up with innovative approaches to outreach, so that everything is not always the same. We want it to be innovative and keep up with other programs, keep up with the new ideas that are being formed, formulated.
Mm-hmm. And I like to add something there as well. What I like to say when we have people that call us and say, I don't know how to reach them, I always say, go where they are. If you're looking for farmers, go to the nurseries, go to the farming equipment dealers. If you're looking for veterans, try starting at the military base, ask for the transition assistance program, which is when the veterans are separating from the military and they're looking for something to do for a second career. And farming has proven to be very effective for a lot of the military veterans that are coming out with PTSD or some of those issues, and they found farming to be therapeutic, and they're really successful. So that's where you could always call our office, and we'd be more than happy to sit down with you and help you all in your outreach. So having said that, speaking of outreach, the Office of Partnerships and Public Engagement is conducting business now in the model that you see here on your screen. We are operating through centers of community prosperity so that we can foster hope, opportunity, wealth, and asset building. And through these community prosperity summits, we are tailoring community by community. We're tailoring our programs to their needs. So, for instance, we would host a community prosperity summit in the state of Mississippi. So we will have champions that want to help in their communities. So what we will do is find out what their needs are, whether it's housing, whether it's transportation or infrastructure. And they would, in turn, send us those needs, and we would follow up with them with a list of resources that they can apply for based on their individual needs in that community. And in the team that will be working with those communities is our State Food and Agriculture Committee. And that committee is the Farm Service Agency heads in the state, the Natural Resource Conservation Service representatives in that state, as well as the Rural Development Service or Rural Development Agency in that state. So you're working with state leaders, you're working with USDA officials, you're working throughout the federal sector, because it's not just USDA that can provide those resources. We also work with HUD, for housing, if it is an area that is not eligible for USDA housing. I know we have a 50,000 population limit. So if there's a need for housing outside of that limit, then we can refer them to HUD so that HUD could assist them. We work with the private sector, philanthropic organizations, faith-based organizations. Whatever the needs are in that community, we all get together to provide a plan for them forward in order to service that community. So that is something that the Office of Partnership and Public Engagement is doing in line for the Rural Task Force. So if you are interested, you can send me an email or send it to the 2501 grant email that's in your package or in the presentation, and we'll be happy to connect you with a USDA liaison in your area for that assistance. 2501 is just one program that may be mentioned during those community prosperity summits. And if you are interested in applying for 2501, as with all U.S. federal grant programs, you have to submit your application electronically through grants.gov. Every year, we publish a funding opportunity announcement that will have all the qualifications, all of the documents, everything you need to apply. We also publish it with the Federal Register. We send emails to those who are on our email subscriber list. We have a press release that will go out. We send it to other agencies, so in turn, they can send it out to their listserv. So we try to hit one button and let it all fly out, let that information fly out to various channels. So if you are interested, I highly encourage you to start now by registering with grants.gov. Grants.gov is that portal for you to apply. If you have not registered with grants.gov, then you will be ineligible to apply to the program. And grants.gov has also partnered with SAM.gov, which is the System for Award Management, and that is also a requirement to apply for federal grants. Also, most grants, they want the documents submitted in an Adobe format, so that may be something you want to make sure that your current software is up to date. High-speed connection may be required, so if you're in an area where you don't have really good broadband service, you may want to consider maybe a trip to a library once all of your documents are together. And also you can work with universities work with the county extension, any local nonprofits that you may be able to use their equipment as well, because we do understand some people are in remote areas. Application assistance. We provide teleconferences during the open period so that we can answer any clarifying questions that you may have before applying. We also have a grant writing webinar for the program on YouTube, and grants.gov has, it is so many different tutorials on grants.gov, from navigating the system to actually applying for your grant. And then lastly, the 2501 grant staff is here for you. We will not be able to review your application for input or sufficiency, but we will be able to provide any clarifying questions that you might have. And on slide 31 is the contact information for the 2501 staff. Again, as you see, it's just the three of us, and we work nationwide. So email is probably the best way to get us. We have the 2501 grant email box. That is a common shared box that you can send an email to, and that will reach all three of us. And you also have a phone number there that you can actually call and ask for anyone on the grant staff. If you are interested in applying and if you have questions, grants.gov, their information is there, and they are 24 hours. And they also have an email that you can use to kind of get access to the system and navigate around and actually talk to somebody. And if you have to call them for any issues you're having, you want to make sure you get a case number, because we've had instances where people were applying for the grant on the last day. That's when we get the bulk of our applications, of course, on the last day. And, excuse me, and they were unable to apply. So there are cases where it's system-related. So if it's system-related, we may provide a reprieve or an exception for them to email that application, but they have to have that case number. So if you're interested in applying for our program, I highly encourage you to start that registration process, because it could take several weeks, and I've seen it, maybe even into a couple of months. So with that, hopefully you've jotted down all of your questions. If you have any, I'd like to turn it back over to Charles, and thank you all for your time and patience.
So with that, we will start taking questions.
We'll navigate through the question and answer session.
If you have any questions, can you please type it into the chat box, and we will have someone answer your question.
Charles, are you there?
Yeah, we opened it up to questions, and we're just waiting to see if we have any questions coming into the chat feature. We did have several people ask if they could have a copy of the PowerPoint, and we are going to provide that.
Yeah, we have no problem with that. If you want, I'm sorry.
No, hold on one second. I'm just going through the questions and answers here. So our first question, we are developing a new agribusiness enterprise for a tribe in Arizona. The tribal ag department would be developed from a tribal program to a self-sustaining, profit-generating business enterprise. Could this scope meet the basic eligibility threshold?
Did you say for-profit?
It appears that it's a nonprofit that will transition into a for-profit business.
That may be something they want to call, and we can talk through that, because nonprofits are eligible, but for-profits are not. But agribusiness is generally an eligible purpose for the program. So I would probably like to speak more with an individual on that. And they can send us an email and we can just set up a call, or they can just call us directly.
So that's an instance in which it's handled case by case, and they encourage you to reach out to them directly. Do we have any other questions? So we do have a question. Where is this program located on the USDA website?
It's outreach.usda.gov/grant. And what I will do, Charles, if you don't mind, I can send you the official PowerPoint that we have today. I'll add it to that slide. I thought it was on there. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, we'll get it incorporated in. We did have a couple of requests for copies, and we provided an email address for people who wish to receive the copy of today's PowerPoint to email. And again, it's c.peele, P as in Paul, E-E-L-E, at 3starak.com. And also, the recording of today's webinar will be made available in approximately a week on YouTube. We'll send out notifications of when that is up as well.
Charles?
Yes.
Before you end on slide 25, that is the link to our grant for 2010 all the way up to 2019.
Yeah, your current grantees.
It's not current. It's current and past. So, yes, they can use that link to access the portal.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other. Let me check one more chat. I'm not seeing any other questions at this time. So.
Okay. Well, we're available, and I thank you all for your time.
I would like to thank everybody for participating today. I will follow up, and if you have, oh, hold on. We have another question. Does this grant allow awards to subrecipients?
Yes. You can award up to 50% of your award to a subrecipient or subawardee is what we call them. It cannot exceed 50% of the amount of the grant because we want to make sure that the grantee that's awarded is not just farming out all of the grant functions and activities. So, yes, that is a permitted purpose for subawardees. And also we have contractors sometimes that are hired with the grant. So, yes.
And for the community assistance program, is there a good tool to use to determine your community needs?
Yes, we have something that we're finalizing now here in OPPE. And if you could send an email to Alex Cordova, and I will give you his email, he can give you an actual template that we're using to have those entities to or communities to send us what their community needs are. But I will forewarn you that they would like for you to form a community prosperity council so that it can be an all-encompassing plan that we provide to you, and that community prosperity council would consist of like the mayor, the board of education, the board of supervisors, and things like that in that community. So it would be community leaders as well as government leaders. And we can talk to you more about that. I'll give you Alex's email address, and you can send him. He's the one that's really in charge of these summits, and his name again is Alex, ALEX, dot Cordova, CORDOVA, at USDA.gov, and just let him know you're interested in learning more about the Community Prosperity Council.
Okay, thank you. And the Administration for Native Americans tries to host 2 informative webinars per month. We typically hold our webinars on Thursdays. And if you would like to provide feedback that isn't covered in our evaluation, please email your feedback or comments to anacomments@acf.hhs.gov. And if you are a language learner, this is the way of saying thank you for participating today in many of the Alaska Native languages. And if you have any questions regarding today's webinar, the Administration for Native Americans, or any of the regions that you operate in, please feel free to take a look at any of the regions. If you have a question on which region you belong to, you could email Charles as well, and I would be more than happy to answer that question for you. With that, I will conclude today's recording and start responding to all of your emails. Thank you.